Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are currently working on getting this Explore the Moon contract finished up. Now, we have launched a couple times for this, but our first stage is very underpowered, and we need to address that. I just want to check to see... Moon flyby. This is not a lot of cash, so I don't think that we're going to bother with doing this one for now. Let's just hop into the VAB and work on our moon flyby first. Wait a second. We're not doing a moon flyby. We're doing a moon orbit, but... Wait a second. We don't need an engineer on this flight. We have a 3-seater capsule. We need a scientist. We need a pilot. We do not need an engineer. This is just a single VIP. Now, he just needs a flyby. We're going to give him an orbit, but this is going to cost us literally nothing to do. So we might as well. There's no reason not to, I think. So let's go ahead and open up the Free India Mark V. And we should probably, first off, just strip off these stages here. I'm going to take off the tail fins as well. And I'm going to take off the Reliant Liquid Fuel Engine. We're going to call this the Mark VI, and we're going to save that. This is going to be a drastic departure. Now, the reason that this is underpowered is because there's just so much fuel here. I want to move some of this fuel off into the sides, and we'll just flow it in. So this here, this is roughly a T1200 worth of fuel. That's fine. We're going to actually have more fuel than this, but also with more lifting power. So we're going to put a couple of decouplers over here, radial decouplers, and we're going to stick them right here, like so. And then we're going to put on a pair of T800s. So this will be essentially a T1600. And I do want to use the move tool to roughly line up the bottom line here. That'll be good. And then we'll go ahead and strut these in. I would like to strut them up here beyond this split here. Excellent. I don't know if we need to be strutted at the bottom or not, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. So we'll strut that in right there just to make sure that that's nice and stable. Now, we're not currently putting on aerodynamic nose cones. We may want to, actually. So I'm going to put in an aerodynamic nose cone. Now, struts are physics-less parts, so it's fine to do something like this. It doesn't look great, but it's fine. And then in theory, we can just use a trio of swivel engines like this. And of course, we're going to want to have a fuel flow from the outside in, if I can remember where fuel lines come from. Here we are, external fuel ducts. And we're just going to have it flow approximately like that. It's not the prettiest, but it'll get the job done. So we have more fuel here, but we've moved a substantial amount of the fuel out into the outer stages here. Now, the real question is, how does this thing end up flying? Now, first off, we're obviously going to need to combine these stages and check our thrust to weight. 1.31 should be okay. What is our thrust to weight without this? 0.96. Okay, still a little bit underpowered, but not too bad. I think it'll be fine. And then that detaches. Once that detaches, yep, all looks good. Of course, we do want to have our drogue chutes separate from our main. Not that it's, strictly speaking, necessary. Okay. So this is still maybe a little bit underpowered, but it's better. Allegedly. It's allegedly better. I want to go ahead and launch this, but this is going to be a simulated flight. We're checking two things: aerodynamic profile, and we are checking just how good this thing actually gets us into orbit. I'm a little bit concerned about that 0.96 thrust to weight ratio. That said, we may be high enough up that it doesn't matter. So let's test this real quick in a simulated reversible flight. This will be reverted because we have Bill here. We do not have our Kerbal, or rather our tourist. So let's see. Reasonable liftoff. Of course, we knew that would be the case. And you can see here, we are not pulling fuel from our center core at all. This is only coming from our side boosters for right now. So once we hit about 100 meters per second, we'll see how our aerodynamics are looking. It's a little bit slow off the pad, but that's probably fine. And let's see our aerodynamics. This is only utilizing the gimbaling in these engines. And it feels great. The real question is, once these detach, will we lose attitude? We do actually have to sit somewhere around here for right now, because I do want to see what our apoapsis height on a Ooh, that's an attitude loss. Okay, that's exactly what I was concerned about, but I thought that that would actually happen before... Or I thought that that would not happen before we detach these boosters, but it absolutely did. So what we're going to do is we're going to detach these boosters and see how that feels. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm not shocked by that. There was some really awkward aerodynamics there, and that is exactly what I wanted to see. So, that of course means that we are going to... Yeah, look at that. That's the reason right there. Look at that center of aerodynamics and the center of mass. So let's take a look at this once we put on the tail fins again. Do we need all 4 tail fins? We're going to start with it and see what that looks like. So with 4 tail fins, it would look like this. Okay, what about once we detach these? That becomes perhaps excessively stable? Perhaps. I'm wondering where that aerodynamic overlay went. There it is. Okay. We may want to end up moving these up a little bit. Something perhaps like this. It's a little dumb looking. There's no doubt about that. But I'm just wondering what that would look like once these tanks detached. Our center of mass doesn't move? That strikes me as odd. Okay, there's our center of mass. And now, yeah, our center of mass absolutely does move. Okay, it just doesn't update when I Control Z. Okay, so then our aerodynamics are, of course, here, and that's a little on the high side. So we'll dip it down over to right here once again. And then we will go ahead and save this for now, and we'll take this off of here. It'll become more stable as we go up, but maybe that's exactly what we want in this situation. More maneuverable at this stage in the Atmo, and then more stable as we're up a little bit higher and going a lot faster. Let's see how that feels in the aerodynamics. It should feel far better. I did think that the gimbaling would be enough to keep us in a good aerodynamic situation until the 2 outer cores detached, but it wasn't. It absolutely was not. So let's see how this goes. Obviously, our straight up is going to be fine. We have no concerns whatsoever about that. That's never a problem. The real question is, how does this go when we start our turn? And I'm starting the turn a little bit later here because I want to do a bit of a stress test. It's a little bit stable. Not tremendously maneuverable. Okay. We'll just sit right around here for now. Let our apoapsis come on up. And let's see where this puts us in terms of apoapsis once these stages detach, and also how our aerodynamics feel once we detach the stages. It's very good that we're very stable right now, because we can safely detach the stages. There's a lot of clearance here that would need to be cleared before we actually have issues here, but I think that these stages are going to swing out in an arc like that, and we'll have to see how that actually... Okay, they bounced a bit there. That stage bounced off of this fin. We didn't lose the fin. Our apparatus is only about 29k. That said, we do have about 2 minutes of burn time here, and we are actually over our thrust to weight of 1.0 because of our altitude. So that's not too shabby, really. That's a good booster, other than that detach. We may want to consider moving the attach point up top, rather than having it be at the bottom. But regardless, our apoapsis height is doing pretty well. Let's make our way over towards the prograde marker, and I just want to burn out the remainder of this first stage and see how high we get. So let's just sit at prograde for right now. This is very stable, but it is also reasonably maneuverable. Our apoapsis is currently in space. I did mention that this is a simulated flight, right? The intention was always to revert this. This is definitely a simulated flight. Okay, so I'm going to physics warp here. Yeah, it's super dangerous and weird to physics warp right now, but I'm going to do that, and we're just going to see what this puts it at. 139k. Now, we definitely burned extra DV here that we probably should have used on circularization, but that is a good test. That is a really good test. We're going to go ahead and revert that as promised. The one change that I want to make is we're going to remove the fuel ducts. We are going to take this, actually, we're going to put that back. We're going to take this off, and we're going to move this up to be on the top. So that way we have kind of the Soyuz effect, where instead of coming off the way they did and bouncing here, hopefully they would come off up here and swing out this way a little bit and then come together in our wake. That would be the goal. And of course we'll need to move the mounting point on this. There's no doubt about that. There we go. Not exactly like that. It's because this is the root part here. So what we actually have to do is we have to take this all off, like so, and then this is then going to become our root part for this section. And we'd have it be mounted like that, approximately, although I don't know that that's on the decoupler. Now it is. So we'll go ahead and move that straight on down to be in line roughly there. Excellent. Put this tank on, put the engine on, redo the struts. That did not redo the struts. It's a little awkward to get vision here. Okay, we'll just place it there and place it there. That'll do for that strut. And then we'll just place it there, and ooh, that's some awkward mirroring that we got going on there. We'll try it over on this side. That'll do. And then we'll need to redo the fuel duct as well. From the outside in. And we'll just place it right there. Sure. Okay, one last simulated launch here, and the only thing that we're looking at is our detach profile. I do not want to see our side cores having that effect where it bounces off of our tail fin, because I do not guarantee that that tail fin survives that, and that tail fin is actually pretty necessary. So let's go, and we are going to just pitch over a little bit here, not too much, but we'll just hold here for now. And I'm going to physics warp. Oh, that's a little exciting on that wiggle. That's very exciting on that wiggle. Okay, the physics warp is not an option right now. I'm not super surprised by this. I wish that the physics warp was an option, because I just want to burn out these stages and see how that detach goes. This is definitely a little risky, right? we might want to have like explosive manifolds or something that push them further away. But I guess we'll just wait now for 20 seconds. Maybe we can get away. Nope, we absolutely can't get away with a physics warp right now. Saw some detaching happening there. That's always spooky. Okay, so 5 more seconds, and let's see how this detachment works. Much better. That is what we're looking for. I forget what that... Isn't that called the Korolev Cross, I believe, is the name? I'd have to double-check that one. Of course, the Soyuz is called a Cross because they have the 4 boosters, I believe. Or maybe more. I'm not an expert on Soyuz. I'm not an expert on anything. Regardless, that worked exactly as I intended it to. So, at this point, I am comfortable certifying this vehicle for flight. So we'll go ahead and pop Bill on out of there, and we're going to put our tourist in. I'm sure Sanzor will be fine. And let's go, shall we? I think we're ready to go take an orbit around the moon. We should have plenty of Delta V. Should not have any worries about that. This stage here, it's got what, almost 2,000 in it? Assuming that we don't have to burn any on our way into orbit? Or was it like 1,500? 1,700? 1,800? I forget. I cannot remember. It doesn't matter. It should be enough. That's the point here. So up we go. This is no longer simulated. We are going to go ahead and begin our turn at about 100 meters per second. I just want to get enough vertical clearance here. We're not going to get too aggressive or fancy with it. Although I do want to be in orbital mode. But I want to be on surface for this number. Okay, we'll go ahead and get a little bit of a turn there. Yeah, we're very stable right now. This is a good thing, though. I do want to be stable right now. So we'll just hold right around here. Our heading isn't quite where I want it to be, but it'll be easier to adjust that later. Okay, so now we'll just follow our prograde marker a little bit here. Our apoapsis probably does need to come up a little bit more. So we'll just allow that to hold for right now. Excellent. Our booster stage will be detaching shortly, and we should see a nice clean detach. Right about now. Glorious. That was a beautiful detach. Okay. So we are still a little low on our apoapsis height. Oh, I wanted to check this. Yeah, we're already at 1.24, so this should be fine. I don't think there's an issue here. We'll go ahead and hold prograde for right now. I'm not going to tell Jeb to do it because I want to check what our orbital prograde is. Okay. Yeah, we're still a little bit early on this burn, so I'm not going to get too aggressive at heading over to the prograde marker yet. I'll head over to the prograde marker once we are... Actually, we're probably fine to do it now. Let's go ahead and head to the prograde marker. And yeah, Jeb can hold that, no problem. Plenty of stability for this. We can see here that our apoapsis is up to space as of now. Wonderful. I'm going to take this up to 80 kilometers. Like that. And now let's go ahead and get ourselves a maneuver here. And it'll need to be not quite like that. A little bit off of the apoapsis here. Can we get in here, please? Thank you. How's that? Good enough. Okay, so we will go ahead and orient over at the node here. Excellent. And we want to burn this actually about now. We are now in space, so let's go ahead and burn. Fantastic. We are approaching apoapsis right now. We're maybe a little slow on the horizontal speed, but we do have good thrust to weight in this stage for the next 30 seconds. So hopefully we have sufficient time in this burn. I think we will. We're still 30 seconds from apoapsis, so it should be okay. Just adjusting our heading a little bit here. And we'll be burning out our first stage in 8 seconds, which should be fine. And off we go. So this is going to be a fair amount of our fuel in this stage, in terms of our DV. Okay, well, we'll be able to save a little bit of it, and I think we'll still have enough to make this happen. We definitely need to be considering our upper stage now. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we could still maybe add a little bit of power to our first stage. That is an option that we have. For now, though, we will be entering orbit momentarily. We are, of course, going down right now, but that's fine. We are currently about 200 meters per second from orbit. Just adjusting our heading ever so slightly here. Yeah, this is definitely going to be cutting it a little bit close, but I think we'll be fine. We'll double check our DVs after this, though. At the very least, we can get our flyby done. Okay, I want to burn a little bit more carefully right now. Just get our periapsis up into orbit here. 68, 69. There, good enough. We'll save that 3.5 dV. So 1100 meters per second, huh? Okay. Well, our inclination isn't going to be perfect, but let's go ahead and add a maneuver somewhere around here and push out to the moon. It'll actually need to be a little later in the orbit than that, somewhere around here. We'll need to be a little further than that. There we go. What's that orbit looking like? 900K? Sure. What does that look like for circularization in terms of DV? Oof. 300. Okay. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. I mean, I think we can still make that work, but it's going to be close. So let's go ahead and tweak this guy. See if we can get ourselves a little bit more efficient here. By heading out perhaps over here. And getting ourselves an encounter that is more along the lines of this. That's slightly more efficient, and that encounter is almost the same, actually. And then this would then be about 200 dV. Yes. This is much more doable. Okay. Excellent. So I'm very happy about that. We will go ahead and... What? I think I deleted the wrong maneuver node. Okay. So we will go ahead and place this somewhere around here. We know that it was... not this much dV. We know that it was about here. Just squeaking into the moon zone of control. Excellent. So we will go ahead and position for that burn. And let's go ahead and warp to next maneuver. So we know that that's going to be a 1 minute 12 second burn. So we want to burn this at T minus 36 seconds. Excellent. We're a little bit off on our positioning, but that's fine. We'll just get warped around here, and while we're doing this, of course, our electric charge is regenerating. Wonderful. So at T minus 36 seconds, we are going to warp this forward a little bit more. down to around 50. Okay. So we'll position at our node, and we will burn this at T-minus 36 seconds. So right about now. And we will cut this basically the moment we see a moon encounter. Just adjusting our heading a little bit here. It's not quite where we need to be. There we go. Something more along the lines of that. It's not perfect, but it'll have to do. This is definitely going to be tight on the DV. There's no doubt about that. We'll have to find ourselves a nice way back. We may have to, like, do a moon slingshot maneuver or something. I don't know. We'll have to try to find something. It should be relatively simple and straightforward, though. I hope. I hope we don't have to get out and push. That's always obnoxious when we have to get out and push. At any rate, we are on our way to the moon as soon as this burn is done. Definitely a little bit sketchy about that amount of DV we've got left. Okay, let's burn this much more slowly now, the moment we see an encounter. There we go. This will do. Okay. This encounter, we then want to go retrograde just enough to get into orbit. No more. So it would need to be this. That's 200 almost. This leaves us like 70 to get back with. That's going to be exciting. That's going to be real exciting. Like, that's 4 DV there, though. And that gets us pretty close. Like, that's several hundred DV. But we can time it to be something, you know, kind of like this-ish. Yeah, this is doable. It's gonna be an energetic re-entry. We might want to aim pretty high and do a couple of aero brake passes. Just to be on the safe side. No, like, that's 142 DV there. We may have to do some getting out and pushing. That's always fun. However, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we'll see if we can pull this off on getting them home. Or we may have to do a rescue mission. That is also an option. For now, though, you can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.